Hu Tao, I came across this document on monitoring in distributed systems by Google's SREs. It mentions foundational concepts and terminology. Could you explain what monitoring in this context really means?
Glad to be your guide. Monitoring is all about collecting, processing, aggregating, and displaying real-time quantitative data about a system. It helps in keeping track of system activities, such as query counts, error counts, and processing times.
I see. And are there different types of monitoring strategies used by these teams?
Definitely. There are primarily two: white box and black box monitoring. White box monitoring is when we look inside the system to understand its internals, like using logs or interfaces. Black box monitoring, on the other hand, is more about observing the system's behavior from an external perspective, much like a user would.
So, one is more about internal workings, and the other is about external observations. What's the significance of dashboards in this setup?
Dashboards are like a pilot's cockpit. They provide a summary view of core metrics in a web-based format. They help visualize important data quickly, like the number of high-priority bugs or who the current on-call engineer is. Pretty handy for quick insights.
That's fascinating. I assume alerts play a crucial role here. What exactly are alerts?
Alerts are like those urgent notifications you get when something goes wrong, like a warning bell. They notify humans through systems like email, pagers, or ticket queues when attention is needed. They're classified based on the medium used, like ticket alerts or page alerts.
Interesting. So they notify us when something needs fixing immediately. How do they ensure we understand why things are going wrong?
That's where the concept of root causes comes in. A root cause is basically the underlying issue in the system, which once fixed, could prevent the problem from happening again. It makes sure we're not just fixing symptoms but addressing the real problem.
Root causes sound critical to understand then. What about the terms node and machine? Are they important too?
Yes, indeed. Node and machine are used a bit interchangeably. They refer to a single instance of a running kernel, whether it's a physical server, virtual machine, or container. Multiple services can run on a single machine, either related or completely unrelated.
So it basically defines where these services are running. What prompts these monitoring systems to ask for changes?
That's what they call a push. It's any change to the software or configuration of a service. So when you modify something in the system, say update a software or adjust settings, it's termed as a push.
Really paints a detailed picture of the ecosystem. What drives the need for such comprehensive monitoring systems?
There are multiple reasons. To analyze long-term trends, compare performance over time, alert when something breaks, and diagnose issues retrospectively. It also helps in building dashboards for a quick information snapshot and serves as input for business analytics.
That explains the breadth of its applications. Given this structure, notifying humans seems crucial. How do they decide what warrants a human's attention?
The art of alerting. The system tells us when it's broken, or when something might break soon. If it can't fix itself automatically, a human steps in to determine if there's a real problem, mitigate it, and find the root cause. But it's important to ensure alerts aren't too frequent, as that can lead to alert fatigue.
Alert fatigue, that sounds concerning. Is it common?
It can be. Too many alerts, especially at inconvenient times, can lead people to ignore them, even the critical ones. Effective alerting needs to have a good signal with very low noise.
Is there a way to manage or reduce this alert overload?
Definitely. Setting reasonable expectations for monitoring is key. Simplicity and clarity in alert guidelines can help. Some people even specialize in managing monitoring systems to ensure things run smoothly.
And Google seems to prioritize simplicity in their approach.
Oh yes, they prefer simpler, faster monitoring systems and emphasize post-hoc analysis tools. The goal is avoiding overly complex systems that might mislead or become a chore to maintain.
I can imagine that complexity might lead to more issues eventually. But what about symptoms versus causes in this domain?
Monitoring should focus on identifying what's broken, symptoms, and why, causes. This distinction helps in writing efficient monitoring with maximum signal and minimum noise.
Does this mean every part of the system could have its unique set of symptoms and causes?
Exactly. For instance, a slow database can be a symptom for one team and a cause for another, depending on their perspective and responsibilities within the system.
I appreciate the intricate balance described here. Can you tell me more about how these strategies are applied in real settings?
Well, each monitoring system is tailored to the specific needs of the service it's overseeing. They ensure the key signals are monitored, like latency, traffic, errors, and saturation.
These signals really seem to anchor the entire monitoring concept. Are they sufficient to keep the systems well monitored?
If done right, yes. Measuring these signals covers a lot of ground. Latency, traffic, error rates, and saturation give a clear picture of how the system performs and what might need attention.
Everything seems to tie back to efficient resource management. Fascinating insights, Hu Tao. Perhaps I can learn more about the long-term strategies another time. Hu Tao, I'm curious about the objectives behind monitoring systems. Could you explain why monitoring is so crucial?
Absolutely. There are many reasons to monitor systems. One major goal is analyzing long-term trends. Monitoring allows us to see how things evolve over time. For instance, tracking how quickly a database grows or how fast user counts increase.
So it helps in understanding growth patterns. What about the immediate issues like system failures?
Good point. Alerting plays a critical role there. It warns us when something is broken and needs urgent attention, or if something might break soon, so we can preemptively tackle it.
It sounds like being proactive is essential. How do these alerts balance between automated systems and human intervention?
That's a delicate dance. Automated systems are great at flagging potential issues, but we need human expertise to interpret and address complex real-world problems. It's important to ensure the alerts are effective, so humans aren't called in for every little hiccup.
I see. And what about using monitoring for debugging purposes?
Exactly. Retrospective debugging is another purpose. When something goes wrong, monitoring data helps us understand what happened, when it started, and often why it happened. It's like piecing together a mystery.
A mystery indeed. But with this constant monitoring, how do you prevent people from getting overwhelmed by alerts?
Yes, alert fatigue is a real challenge. The goal is to refine alert systems to have a good signal-to-noise ratio. We want alerts that truly need human intervention, minimizing the cry wolf effect.
Too many false alarms can indeed lead to crucial issues being ignored. Can you tell me more about trend analysis?
Trend analysis is key. By monitoring patterns over time, we can forecast future behaviors and resource needs, like predicting if additional servers will be needed based on traffic patterns.
Does trend analysis improve the efficiency of enterprises?
Definitely. It ensures resources are used efficiently and helps in planning upgrades or modifications to the system before they become urgent.
Does that mean long-term strategies depend heavily on these analyses?
Oh, for sure. A good understanding of trends helps companies make informed strategic decisions, such as optimizing infrastructure investments.
It seems like monitoring is not just about fixing things when they break, but about improving processes overall.
Exactly. It's a proactive tool as much as it is reactive. By monitoring, teams can continually enhance their systems, ensuring reliability and efficiency.
And this way, you keep the operation smooth with fewer unexpected surprise failures.
Precisely. Smooth operations mean happier users and a more sustainable business model.
Investing in good monitoring seems to be a wise decision then. It acts as a backbone for problem solving and planning.
Indeed it does. It's integral for maintaining quality and enhancing user experience without being bogged down by technical failures.
How do they strike a balance between automated systems and necessitating human intervention?
It's about being strategic with alert settings, clear limits for when a human needs to step in, and refining those thresholds based on what effectively prompts real action.
And I guess this fine-tuning is ongoing?
Absolutely, it's cyclical. Systems evolve, patterns change, so our monitoring must adapt continually to stay effective.
So importance lies not only in setting up the monitoring, but regularly updating it as well.
Exactly. A monitoring system is a living entity. It thrives on updates and improvements.
An evolving system to match an evolving technological landscape. Monitoring seems more dynamic than I initially thought.
That's a great way to put it, It's a dance with technology, always moving, always adapting.
And the partnership between automated processes and human insight keeps everything balanced.
You've got it. Both elements are crucial. Automation handles immediate detection, while humans bring the nuance and decision-making.
Fascinating. This interplay ensures effective problem diagnosis and system improvements.
You've summed it up beautifully. Effective monitoring is both an art and a science, balancing technology with human expertise.
Hu Tao, I'm eager to dig deeper into Google's approach to monitoring. Can you elaborate on these key principles and techniques?
Sure thing, Let's start with the foundation. Google's monitoring principles revolve around efficiency and simplicity, focusing on what's practical rather than overly complex solutions.
Ah, interesting. So how do they distinguish between what's practical and what's not?
Well, one way is by using both white box and black box monitoring. White box allows for an inside look at a system using logs and HTTP endpoints, detecting potential issues before they escalate. Black box is more about real-time, user-experienced issues.
So white box is about predicting issues, while black box deals with what's already happening.
Exactly. Each serves a unique purpose. White box is excellent for finding root causes of imminent problems, and black box keeps us alerted about current user-facing issues.
And are there particular metrics that they focus on in their monitoring?
Yes, they focus heavily on what they call the 4 golden signals: latency, traffic, errors, and saturation. These signals provide a comprehensive view of system health.
The 4 golden signals, tell me more about them.
Sure, latency is about how long it takes to service requests. Traffic measures how much demand is on your system. Errors track the rate of failed requests, and saturation tells you how full your service is in terms of resource usage.
I see. So these signals form the backbone of their monitoring approach?
Precisely. They're essential for understanding the overall performance and capacity of a system. They help prioritize where attention is needed most.
That makes sense. How do they keep the monitoring system from becoming too complex?
By emphasizing simplicity in design, Google's approach is to create monitoring that is as simple as necessary to detect what's important without unnecessary bells and whistles.
Simplicity seems like a massive benefit. How do alerts fit into this picture?
Alerts need to be clear and actionable. They trigger when an issue is urgent and visible to users, helping to focus attention where it's needed without causing fatigue from false alarms.
False alarms could be a significant problem, right? How do they reduce this?
Absolutely, false alarms can lead to desensitization. By matching alerts closely to the 4 golden signals, they reduce noise and ensure alerts signify meaningful issues.
Balancing noise and signal must be challenging. What guides their response to alerts?
Each alert is designed to indicate something genuinely affecting users, and should necessitate human intervention. Alerts should prompt actions that are urgent and need nuanced understanding.
And how is saturation managed within this monitoring framework?
Saturation is all about identifying when resources are maxed out, which could mean impending problems. Monitoring helps predict when these limits will be reached, so adjustments can be made in advance.
Predictive measures seem crucial to avoid disruptions. How does this tie back to symptoms versus causes?
Symptoms represent what's currently broken, while causes are about why something's broken. The aim is to identify symptoms accurately and trace them back to their causes effectively.
In tracing back, do they rely more on white box or black box monitoring?
It's a blend of both. White box monitoring often provides the details needed to diagnose causes, but black box's symptom-focused alerts ensure current issues don't go unnoticed.
So both types are invaluable partners in effective monitoring.
Absolutely. They complement each other, each offering insights crucial for continuous system improvement and reliability.
Fascinating. It seems monitoring is as much about planning for the future as it is about managing the present.
You've hit the nail on the head, Ei. It's a strategic dance between handling today's challenges and anticipating tomorrow's needs.
Hu Tao, what do you think makes Google's system so robust, then? Is it the balance they maintain?
Exactly. It's their focus on maintaining a balance between efficient monitoring, straightforward alerting mechanisms, and leveraging insights to improve constantly.
And I imagine this strategy requires constant updates to stay effective.
Yes, the system evolves with the technology landscape, adapting through updates and iterations to stay relevant and effective.
It's truly a dynamic system, isn't it? Balancing simplicity and functionality.
Precisely, and every change strives to keep core principles intact. Reliable monitoring with minimal complexity and maximum clarity.
In light of what we've discussed, what role does human expertise play amid all this technology?
Humans bring the insight and decision-making to turn data into intelligent actions. Technology might raise the flag, but humans decide how to respond.
It's the perfect blend then, technology strengthened by human intuition.
Exactly, together they forge a monitoring system that's not only smart but also deeply insightful and capable.
Hu Tao, we've covered so much about monitoring systems. I'm curious about the long-term strategies that ensure their effectiveness. Could you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, long-term monitoring is about crafting systems that are reliable yet adaptable over time. It's crucial to set realistic alert goals that prevent alert fatigue and focus on understanding symptoms thoroughly.
That makes sense, but why is avoiding alert fatigue so pivotal?
Alert fatigue can desensitize teams, making them overlook critical alerts. It's like crying wolf too often. The system should prioritize only the most urgent, impactful alerts to keep the response efficient.
I've heard that case studies can offer valuable insights. Are there any notable examples you could share?
Indeed, Google's experiences with Bigtable and Gmail provide insightful lessons. They both faced unique challenges and had to employ particular strategies to maintain robust monitoring systems.
What happened with Bigtable that required such a strategic approach?
Bigtable had issues with alert overload due to mean performance targets. They aimed too broadly, triggering many alerts.
They had to dial back and focus on the 75th percentile request latency instead, which finally provided some breathing room.
I see. By narrowing focus, they could then concentrate on actual problems. How did this help them in the long run?
This strategy allowed them to make meaningful improvements without being constantly distracted by non-critical alerts. They improved the system's performance and reduced the noise that clouded their view of real issues.
And what about Gmail? Did they face a similar challenge?
Yes, although Gmail's case was slightly different. They had a distributed process management system called WorkQueue, which led to alerts firing for numerous minor issues.
How did they address that?
They implemented a tool to manage scheduling issues, reducing alert noise by nudging tasks back without manual intervention.
It was about keeping the service stable while working on a long-term fix.
That sounds like a delicate balance between immediate fixes and long-term solutions.
Absolutely. It reflects the tension between immediate needs versus lasting improvements.
They had to address their team's concerns about potentially relying too much on temporary fixes.
I guess this strategy is common across similar technological challenges.
Indeed it is. There's often a debate between those who want a quick fix and those who worry about accumulating technical debt.
It requires a balance and sometimes managerial or leadership intervention.
And what role do the team members play in this scenario?
Their experience and judgment are crucial. They need to know when a problem is big enough to warrant immediate fixes versus when to push for long-term solutions.
It's about prioritizing the team's confidence and the system's health.
Seems like fostering a culture of trust in the team is critical too.
Couldn't agree more. Trust in each other's expertise and maintaining clarity and responsibilities helps prevent burnout and encourage more sustainable monitoring practices.
How do these lessons tie into an overall philosophy towards monitoring systems?
It's about understanding that every page or alert impacts not just the system's performance, but the team's well-being too. Managing alert levels, avoiding overload, and fostering a sustainable environment are key.
So it's about striking a balance between addressing current issues and planning for future stability.
Exactly, Ei. By analyzing alert frequencies and adjusting goals based on realistic benchmarks, teams can create effective, lasting monitoring frameworks that support both operations and team health.
It seems that over time, this leads to a more resilient system and a more responsive team.
That's the goal. A resilient system reflects well on the team's efforts to maintain and improve the service, ensuring quality in user experience and operational efficiency.
Well, Hu Tao, this discussion on long-term strategies has been enlightening. Monitoring seems to be as much about people as it is about technology.
You've caught on well, Ei. It's about balancing the elements, technology, strategy, and human insight, to form a coherent and dependable monitoring system.
I look forward to applying these concepts myself. Thank you for the detailed insights, Hu Tao.
Anytime, Ei. It's always a pleasure to share knowledge, especially when it helps create better systems and happy teams.